Welcome to the Tea Mind. I'm Erica, and this is your weekly pause to put the kettle on, slow down, and reconnect with what really matters. Hello, and welcome back to the Tea Mind podcast. If you're listening to this wrapped up in a cosy warm jumper, with your energy somewhere down on the floor right now and your brain's feeling a little bit mushy, then you're in the right place because winter can often have that effect on us. Everything round about us slows down, but our lives seem to get busier than ever, which is probably why you might feel a little bit foggy, a little bit tired, and permanently too busy. I know I do. So, this is your permission slip to step out of the chaos and to step into a little moment of clarity and to brew yourself back into balance. Today, we're going to be exploring why this winter fog can hit us so hard and what the water element in the Chinese five elements can teach us, and how a carefully chosen tea, something like mulled pine, can bring you home to yourself, and how one tiny tea ritual can turn your whole day around, all in the time it takes to brew your tea. So I don't know about you, but almost everyone I've spoken to recently says that they feel really exhausted, tired, stretched, they've got fogginess everywhere, and they wake up feeling that they're already behind, go to bed already thinking about tomorrow, and your tea often goes cold because you forgot that it existed again. And it's not because you're lazy or disorganized, but it's because you're just overwhelmed. Your head is full, your nervous system is fried, and your attention is all over the place. And winter can have a tendency to amplify all of that. Winter is supposed to be the season of rest and reflection, but we've built lives that don't stop for the seasons. So instead of quieting things down, we can often be pushing through. And then we wonder why we feel like we're wading through fog, thick fog, the kind that makes you question every single decision, every plan, and every next step. So if you've been feeling like that, this episode is for you because that fog isn't failure, it's a message, loud and clear. Winter is trying to tell you something really important. So let's talk a little bit about the water element. Winter is water's domain. It's all about stillness, depth, and reflection. It's about dreaming. It's about taking those long pauses and really long breaths out. It governs your ability to adapt, your ability to flow, go with the flow, just like water meandering down a stream, and to rest and restore. But the stress response can be the emotion of fear. But the flip side of that is the gift of courage. So when water is balanced, we can feel steady and rooted and quietly confident, feeling like we can handle life just flowing gently over any obstacles in our path, like we've got inner reserves. But when it's out of balance, then that can lead to a freeze response or panic or starting to spiral, and you feel overwhelmed in a way that you can't quite explain. You're busy and always on, but without being terribly productive. You might feel like a rabbit caught in the headlights, for example, just frozen, unable to move, unable to think, not sure which way to go next. And if this sounds familiar to you, then no amount of time management solutions are going to fix it. Believe me, I have tried. Instead, I think we need to go back to basics and back to the elements so that we can pause and rebalance. The trouble at the moment is, as life gets busier and busier, we're trying to sprint in a season that's actually requires us and is asking us to slow down. We're trying to bloom when the world is gently trying to fold inwards, and we're trying to force that clarity when clarity is not something that can be forced. So it's no wonder we feel foggy and a little bit overwhelmed. But this clarity that we're so often seeking doesn't come from that pushing and that effort. It comes from pausing and from stillness. And if you're thinking, oh, but I don't have time for stillness, there's so much going on, you do. You just need a little pattern interrupt. And in my world, that usually starts with a cup of tea. So I just want to take a moment to tell you about last week because it was one of those weeks where life just piles things on and layer after layer after layer. We had just launched our new See Within range at Etiquette, which we're so super excited about. We've created lots of new winter tea blends like mulled pine. We've released new pottery with the wonderful East Lothian potter, Charlotte Cadsell. We've been hosting tea circles and workshops, supporting new wholesale customers, trying to rework parts of our website. Plus, I'm doing a Qigong course, plus coaching, plus a 6 week pottery course. And then on top of all that, I've been fundraising for a surf trip to Peru, which we're just about to go on. Plus, running children to every corner of Scotland and dealing with the unhelpful joy that is midlife hormones. So, a really delightful cocktail of just a little bit too much. So there I was staring at a huge chunk of work that I really had to get done, trying to force myself to start. I was just trying to push through like all the productivity hacks tell you to do. But something had just stopped. I was completely frozen. I didn't know which way to turn next. Every idea had evaporated. My energy had plummeted right down to the floor. And I really was that rabbit in the headlights. And this is a classic water element imbalance. So instead of continuing that spiral, I stopped and I made some tea, which is a simple pattern interrupt, that little act of boiling the kettle, moving away from my workspace, and just hearing the water, smelling the leaves, it pulls me back into myself. But even then, I knew that the problem wasn't really work, it was me. I was running on empty. So I took my tea, put my coat on, and walked out of the door. Into the wind, into the freezing rain, and the cold, sharp Scottish air. No music, no podcast, no audiobook, nothing to distract me, just me and my thoughts and the sounds of my boots on the sand. The blues and greys of the sea and the wind lapping at my face like nature giving me a big wake up call. And as I walked, something finally shifted. Like the fog started to clear, the knot in my chest started to loosen a little bit. I could breathe a little bit more deeply, and my shoulders relaxed, and my perspective got a little bit wider. And by the time I got home, I didn't just feel better, I felt ready. So I set a 20-minute visual timer. I sat down and I absolutely smashed through that work that had paralyzed me just an hour before. Not because I tried harder, but because I stopped trying so hard. And the clarity did come the moment I stopped chasing it. So I'd like to introduce you to a little winter ritual that has helped me find clarity again and again. And it begins with one of my favourite blends, which is new for this season. It's called mulled pine. And let me tell you why this blend matters so much. So every December in our house, we go searching for Bob. And Bob is our Christmas tree, named by the youngest in our family. And Bob has been everything. He's been tall, tiny, majestic, and once he was a slightly confused bush. That was last year. But we loved him anyway. And the hunt for Bob is chaotic. It's always freezing, big kid eye rolls, arguments over which tree is the right one for us. But somewhere between the chaos and all that laughter, we find him every single year. Then we take him home, put the kettle on, get Mariah Carey on, the cinnamon and clove drifting through the house. And it's not just a tradition, it's a feeling. And this year I wanted to capture that feeling in a cup. So that's why we created mulled pine with apple, cinnamon, clove, orange peel, and just a whisper of spruce needles, the secret ingredient. And every time I drink it, it takes me back to that memories of home, like winter the way it should feel, that calmness, that rootedness, feeling reflective and full of those tiny moments that matter. So mulled pine isn't just an invitation, isn't just a blend, it's more like an invitation for you to come back to yourself and a reminder that winter isn't a burden. It's there to help us to slow down, a gentle seasonal nudge to slow down, to breathe, and to reconnect. So while you're brewing your tea this week, whether it's mulled pine or something else, maybe a herbal infusion to support your water element, the first step is to notice your current state. Not what you think you should feel, but what you actually feel. So maybe there's some tension, a bit tiredness, overwhelm. Just notice. without judging. And then ask yourself one question. What's the one thing I actually need to do today? Not 10 things on your to-do list, just one thing. What will make today a success? And then the third step, as you brew your tea, is to follow your energy. So if you need movement, go for a walk. If you need to express yourself somehow, dance to your favourite song for a few minutes. If you need more connection, then pick up the phone and call a friend. If you need clarity, maybe journal for a few minutes. Or if you need stillness, just sit and breathe and do nothing else. And really honour that need. And as you sip your tea slowly, just feel the warmth, taste the spruce, and let the aromatics remind you that you are allowed to pause because winter isn't for hustling and getting everything done. It's for rooting down and finding that inner calm. So, what's one small thing you can do today to honour your winter rhythm? One thing to slow the pace, one thing to reconnect, and one thing that helps you exhale. Maybe it's a cup of tea, maybe it's a walk in the rain, or maybe it's a 3-minute pause so you can feel your own heartbeat again. Whatever it is, let that be enough. So rather than pushing harder this week, let's tune in and listen a little bit deeper because it is the perfect season for coming home to yourself. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for hanging out with me today. And if you want more tea mind practices for winter, you'll find a whole load more waiting for you at the Tea Mind Substack and lots of recipes and tea ideas at the Etiquette website. That's etiquette.co.uk. So thank you so much. And until next week, happy brewing. That's it for today. I hope something landed. I hope something lifted. And if it did, share it with someone who needs a pause too. If you enjoyed this, you'll love the Tea Mind Substack, where the kettle's always on and we can connect more deeply. Until next time, stay present, sip slowly, and thanks for listening.